call you old witch? Mind your business.
By the third morning, the smell arrived before she did. Long before anyone saw her face, long before her shadow crossed the red earth of the village square, people covered their noses. Children stopped playing. Goats scattered. Even flies hovered at a careful distance, as though whatever followed her body was not ordinary decay. Her name was Nkiru, and she was once the most admired young woman in the village. Now, villagers whispered her name like a warning. The stench clung to her wrapper, her hair, her skin. A thick, sour rot that no amount of water or perfume could wash away. Her father, Chief R0tting, stood at the doorway of their compound, torn between love and horror. Each step she took toward him made his eyes water. Each breath burned his chest. He wanted to embrace his only child, but his body refused him. What terrified the village most was not the smell alone. It was the way Nkiru scratched at her arms, her neck, her stomach, as if something beneath her skin was slowly turning against her. Dark patches bloomed like bruises that never healed. In some places, the skin peeled, revealing raw flesh beneath. And this was only the beginning, because 3 days earlier, Nkiru had slapped an old woman by the roadside, an old woman the village had warned her never to touch. Before the smell, before the whispers, before the curse, Nkiru lived a life untouched by consequences. She was Chief R0tting's only child, born after many barren years. The day she cried for the first time, the village celebrated. Goats were slaughtered, palm wine flowed. From that moment, her father decided that no hardship would ever touch her. Whatever Nkiru wanted, she received. If she insulted elders, her father laughed it off. If she disrespected her mother, servants were blamed instead. When villagers complained, Chief R0tting waved them away with gifts and authority. As Nkiru grew older, her beauty sharpened alongside her arrogance. She walked through the village as though the ground existed only for her feet. Greetings from elders were returned with silence or mocking smiles. Advice sounded to her like noise. People warned her father quietly. A child without correction grows teeth that bite the owner, they said. But Chief R0tting only smiled. My daughter knows her limits, he replied. Even when Nkiru laughed at traditions, mocked rituals, and openly challenged customs older than her lineage, her father protected her. And so, Nkiru learned a dangerous lesson early in life, that no action ever carried weight, until the day she met the old woman on the narrow forest path. The old woman sat where the path narrowed, her back bent like a question mark, her skin dark and cracked like dry earth. A small basket rested beside her, filled with bitter leaves and roots tied in careful bundles. Most villagers greeted her with respect. Some avoided her entirely. Children were warned never to insult her. Her name was never spoken loudly. That afternoon, Nkiru approached with irritation written on her face. She had been delayed on her way to the stream, and the sight of the old woman blocking the path angered her. Old woman, move, Nkiru snapped. The woman raised her cloudy eyes slowly. Child, she said calmly, the road is wide enough for patience. Laughter burst from Nkiru's mouth, sharp and cruel. Patience? She scoffed. If you cannot walk, crawl out of my way. The forest went quiet. Even the birds seemed to listen. The old woman did not insult her back. She did not raise her voice. She only stood slowly, dusted her wrapper, and stepped aside. But as Nkiru passed, she muttered under her breath, something disrespectful, something unforgivable. The sound of the slap echoed through the trees before Nkiru even realized what she had done. The old woman staggered, steadied herself, and smiled. The smile unsettled Nkiru more than anger would have. The old woman looked at her, not with pain, not with rage, but with a calm that felt deliberate. May your body remember this moment, the woman said softly. Nkiru laughed and walked away. By nightfall, her skin began to itch. First, she thought it was mosquito bites. She scratched absent-mindedly, paid it no attention. Her father's compound was large, well-kept, protected. Nothing evil could touch her there. But the itching did not stop. By morning, Red patches appeared along her arms and stomach. They burned like fire beneath her skin. Herbal mixtures were applied. Incantations were spoken. Nothing changed. By the second night, the itching turned into pain. By the third morning, the smell came. It crept out of her pores, thick and sour, like meat left too long under the sun. Her mother cried. Her father sent for the best healers in surrounding villages. But each one took a single look at her skin and refused to touch her. "This sickness is not for herbs," one whispered. "This one was invited," another said. What frightened Kiru most was not the pain. It was the movement. At night, when the compound grew quiet, she felt it beneath her skin. A slow crawling sensation, as though something alive was exploring her body. When she pressed her fingers against the darkened patches, they felt warm, almost breathing. The smell worsened. Servants avoided her room. Food was left at the door. Even her father stood several steps away when he spoke to her. "Papa," she cried one evening, "please help me." Chief Okari looked at his daughter, truly looked at her, for the first time without pride, and fear settled into his bones. He remembered the old woman. He remembered the warnings he had ignored. That night, he ordered his guards to find her. Chief Okari did not sleep that night. Every scream from his daughter's room struck his chest like a drum of guilt. For the first time since becoming chief, he felt powerless. Titles could not command spirits. Wealth could not buy forgiveness. At dawn, he gathered his guards and the strongest young men in the village. He did not go as a ruler, but as a desperate father. They searched the forest paths where Nkiru had walked. They questioned hunters, palm wine tappers, and herbal sellers. Some people shook their heads and refused to speak. Others whispered warnings. "That woman does not like to be found," one elder said. They followed rumors to the edge of the forest, where the trees grew older and the air felt heavy. There, hidden behind tangled vines, they found a small hut. It looked abandoned, yet the ground around it was freshly swept. Inside the hut were bitter leaves hanging from the ceiling, calabashes filled with powders, and markings drawn with white chalk on the walls. But the old woman was gone. Chief Okari fell to his knees inside that hut. He removed his cap, pressed his forehead to the earth, and begged aloud. "Forgive my child," he cried. "Correct me instead." The forest answered him with silence. When he returned home empty-handed, the smell from Kiru's room had grown stronger. By the fifth day, the village could no longer pretend. The smell drifted beyond Chief Okari's compound, riding the wind like an announcement. Traders avoided the path near his home. Children were warned not to wander close. Even the bravest neighbors found excuses to stay away. Nkiru had become something people spoke about in low voices. At first, she insulted elders, some said. Now even spirits answer her, others replied. Her father's influence weakened. Respect turned into pity, and pity slowly turned into fear. The same people who once praised his household now avoided his gaze. Inside the compound, Nkiru's condition worsened. Large sections of her skin darkened and cracked. When pieces fell away, there was no blood, only a wet, sour decay that soaked into her clothes. Servants resigned one by one. Her mother stopped entering the room altogether, choosing to pray from a distance. Food was left outside. Water was poured without looking, and still Nkiru lived. The curse did not rush. It waited. On the seventh night, when the moon hung low and red, the guards at Chief Okari's gate froze. An old woman stood there. One announced her arrival. No footsteps were heard. She was simply there, upright, calm, untouched by the smell that had driven everyone else away. Word spread quickly through the compound. When Kiru heard, she screamed until her voice broke. The old woman did not rush. She walked slowly, leaning on her staff, stopping just outside the entrance of the room. She did not step inside. "I warned her," the woman said softly. "I corrected her with words." Chief Okari fell flat on the ground. "Please," he begged, "take my life instead." The old woman shook her head. "This sickness is not for death," she replied. It is for remembrance. She turned her eyes toward Nkiru. Your body will teach you what your ears refuse to learn, she said. When pride finishes rotting, the pain will slow, but it will not disappear. Then she turned and walked away. No one followed her. The curse did not kill Nkiru. That was the cruelest part. The rot slowed, just as the old woman promised. The smell softened but never vanished. Her skin healed in some places and decayed in others, leaving scars that looked like maps of suffering. Nkiru no longer stepped outside during the day. When she did, children ran. Adults looked away. Suitors who once waited at her father's gate disappeared completely. Her mirrors were covered. Her fine clothes were burned. Days turned into months. She listened to village life from behind closed doors. Weddings, festivals, laughter. All things she once enjoyed but could no longer touch. At night, she remembered the slap. She remembered the smile. And she understood too late that some elders are not weak, they are restrained. Her father aged quickly. His shoulders bent under regret. The daughter he had overprotected had become his daily reminder of failure. Nkiru lived for many years after the curse began. She did not recover. She did not worsen. She existed, suspended between punishment and mercy. When death finally came, it came quietly. The smell faded with her final breath, as though it had been waiting. The village gathered at a distance. No drums were beaten. No songs were sung. Only silence marked her passing. Chief Okari buried his only child with trembling hands. From that day onward, elders told the story without mentioning her name. They said, correction ignored becomes a curse. Respect delayed becomes regret. And pride, when fed too long, eats the body that carries it. Till today, when children walk that forest path, they are warned. Greet what you do not understand. Respect what survived before you. Because some lessons do not come as words. And some mistakes do not end when life does.